Breaking news. The unimaginable has occurred. Love and Hip Hop, the series that has kept millions captivated, is teetering on the edge of collapse. Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock have stunned viewers worldwide by making the most shocking departure in reality television history. The family dynamics, the chaos, the feuds, it's all come to a halt. But what triggered this jaw-dropping exit? Was it an explosive argument on set, or a betrayal so intense that not even the closest bonds could survive? Tensions on set were intense, emotions ran high, and cast members found themselves clashing with those they once considered family. A string of heated confrontations followed. Accusations flew, secrets surfaced, and alliances shattered in ways no one expected. Now everyone's asking the same thing. Is this truly the end of Love and Hip Hop as we know it? Fans are heartbroken, but the real reason behind the walkouts is even more stunning than anyone imagined. The show's future is uncertain, and only time will tell if these stars will ever return, or if it's all over for good. Don't look away, because the drama is far from done. Tension on the Love and Hip Hop set had been mounting for months, but no one foresaw what would happen when Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock chose to leave the show permanently. The conflict had reached a boiling point, and the long simmering issues finally erupted in front of the cameras, leaving the entire production team in shock and fans stunned. It began like any regular filming day, but behind the scenes, everything was far from normal. Cast members were under increasing personal and professional stress. Kirk Frost, known for his frequently controversial actions, had been butting heads with other cast members, especially Mendeecees and Yandy. The tension among them had been obvious for weeks and came to a peak during a heated exchange about the show's direction. Kirk, never one to hold back, felt his role was being diminished. He believed his storylines were being brushed aside in favor of others, especially those focused on Mendeecees and Yandy's constant clashes. That resentment had been growing, and it finally burst out that day. Mendeecees and Yandy were facing their own challenges. Their relationship was under strain from both the spotlight and their turbulent history. Mendeecees, a consistently divisive presence, found himself at odds with producers urging him to reveal more about his past, something he was uncomfortable with. Yandy, always the loyal partner, tried to hold everything together, but the unending turmoil was wearing down their relationship. Their love was genuine, but the public pressure made it hard to maintain any normalcy. As tensions climbed, the cast was brought together for a meeting with Mona Scott-Young, the creator of Love and Hip Hop. Known for her no-nonsense approach, Mona tried to mediate the conflict, but what should have been a peaceful discussion turned into a full-blown verbal battle. Kirk, feeling increasingly pushed aside, exploded, accusing Mona of favoritism and dismissing his input. His frustration was obvious. "You're turning this into a circus," Kirk shouted. "I've been here from the start, and now I'm treated like I don't matter." Yandy, who had been trying to mediate, got caught in the middle. She attempted to de-escalate things, but her efforts failed. Mendeecees, who had been quietly watching, finally stepped in. "This isn't about Kirk," he said, his tone calm but clearly fed up. "This is about how you've used our lives for ratings. You want us to bleed on camera, but what do we get? More drama, more pressure, and no respect." The room went silent. It was obvious the cast had reached their breaking point. The very formula that had made Love and Hip Hop a hit, conflict and drama, was now tearing it apart. Mona tried to regain control, but her grip on the show was slipping. Yandy promised them greater creative input and improved storylines, but it was already too late. They had heard all they needed. "We're finished," Mendeecees stated, his tone firm. "We're not part of this anymore. If you want to keep using us, go ahead, but we're done." At those words, the room seemed to go still. Kirk, who had been quietly fuming, got up and stormed out, with Yandy following right behind. Mendeecees paused for a second, locking eyes with Mona before walking out too. The cast had just exited the set, and it was obvious the show would never be the same again. The fallout was instant. Filming stopped, cameras were shut off, and the crew was left in turmoil. Fans who had kept up with the chaos were shocked. How could this be happening? Love and Hip Hop had been built around these stars. Without them, the series would lose its core. Viewers were left stunned and angry, unsure how to react to the abrupt exit of their favorite cast members. In the days that followed, speculation spread rapidly. Some fans believed the cast was fired, while others thought they simply had enough of the ongoing conflict and betrayal. Social media exploded with hashtags like #1 LHIGAD and #1 LHEXODUS as fans struggled to make sense of it all. Many guessed that the decision to leave had been a long time coming, with some pointing to subtle clues that the cast was tired of the show's toxic atmosphere. But the truth remained uncertain. Was it a planned stunt for ratings, or was it truly the end? As the cast began posting vague updates online, fans were left with more questions than clarity. Mendeecees shared a photo with Yandy captioned, "Sometimes walking away is the smartest choice." Kirk uploaded a clip of himself packing, saying, "Life's too short to stay in harmful situations." Yandy posted a quote about finding calm amid chaos, suggesting she was done with the endless drama that had ruled her life for years. These updates only deepened the confusion. Were they gone for good, or just taking a break from the spotlight? Meanwhile, Mona Scott Young remained completely silent, refusing to speak on the matter. Her lack of response only added fuel to the speculation. Fans wondered if she was preparing for her empire to fall. Was this the start of the end for Love and Hip Hop? Or would Mona find a way to save the show and keep the drama going? Only time would provide the answer. But one thing was obvious. The exit of Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock had shaken Love and Hip Hop to its core. As days turned into weeks, the fate of the show remained uncertain. Would the network bring in new cast members, or would it decide to end it altogether? Fans waited anxiously, knowing whatever came next would alter reality TV forever. The drama, the pressure, and the cast had all reached a climax, and the consequences were far from finished. The cast had walked out, but the big question remained: could the show survive without them? The aftermath of Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock leaving Love and Hip Hop was more overwhelming than anyone had foreseen. As the news spread rapidly, both fans and industry insiders were left in shock. What had once been a top reality series was now on the verge of falling apart. The remaining cast tried to fill the gap, but nothing could replicate the powerful energy these stars had brought. Love and Hip Hop had been their platform. Their conflicts, their stories, and their chaotic relationships made the show. Without them, it felt hollow. While the production team struggled to recover, trying to replace the cast with new personalities, it became obvious the spark was gone. Longtime fans weren't easily convinced. They craved the honesty, the emotional intensity, the fiery arguments that had become the show's signature. And without Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock, the foundation of the show was crumbling. Online, #Lexodus continued trending as viewers voiced their anger and disappointment. Many demanded explanations, questioning how the network would respond to such massive changes. Meanwhile, the stars who had left found themselves under a spotlight. Mendeecees, always outspoken, gave an exclusive interview to a major tabloid where he revealed the true reasons behind their decision to walk away. It wasn't just about the on-screen chaos, he explained. It was about how they were treated behind the scenes. They showed no concern for our well-being or mental health. Everything revolved around ratings and stirring chaos to gain views. We were manipulated, made to appear like villains, and it deeply affected us. Yandy, always the calming voice, backed up Mendeecees' perspective in her own message. We were regularly encouraged to escalate fake situations. She wrote in an emotional post, "I've always been transparent about our challenges, but the show began crossing lines. They pushed us to intensify problems just to boost the drama. Eventually, you have to ask, is this worth it? For me, it wasn't." Yandy's emotional honesty struck a nerve with fans, many of whom had admired her strength and endurance over time. They recognized that her departure wasn't simply about leaving a paycheck behind. It was about escaping a harmful environment that slowly wore down her peace of mind. Kirk, always the outspoken one, shared his feelings on social media with far less filter. In a string of intense posts, he made his stance clear. "I've been part of this show from day one," he vented. "I gave them my life, my family, my drama, and they twisted it all. I'm finished. They want me to be a cartoon version of myself, but I'm not going to be their scapegoat anymore." His message spread quickly, sparking mixed reactions from fans. Some praised his boldness, while others criticized his past behavior. Still, one thing was clear. Kirk no longer fit the role of the villain he had been portrayed as for years. In his mind, he was finally reclaiming his own story. Jock, too, eventually shared his experience. While initially silent, he later posted a video that said it all. "This show changed me into someone I'm not," he admitted, staring straight at the camera. It's not just about the money, the fame, the chaos. It's about my mental health, my peace. I've gone through so much, and I'm not letting this show shape who I am anymore. Jock's raw emotion hit home with longtime fans, especially those who had followed him from the start. He was no longer the light-hearted, carefree figure they once loved. He was now someone worn down by the same system that had made him a star. As the weeks rolled on, pressure around love and hip-hop intensified. Viewers were glued to their screens, watching the network scramble to save the show. New faces joined the cast, but none brought the same energy as the originals. Fans quickly lost interest. Ratings started to drop, and the once dominant brand in reality TV began to fade. Behind the scenes, producers who had once embraced the chaos were now in crisis mode. The network worked urgently to hold things together, offering hefty raises to the remaining cast to convince them to stay and keep the show going. But it was obvious that the spark had gone. No paycheck could recreate what Mendeecees, Mendeecees, Kirk, and Jock once brought to the table. Their absence left a gap that couldn't be filled. Even the producers seemed to realize what was coming. Love and hip-hop would never be what it used to be. Eventually, Mona Scott Young, the creative force behind the show, broke her silence. In a public statement, she addressed the departures with visible sorrow and regret. "I've worked closely with these amazing people for years," she said, "and though I respect their choice to leave, it hurts. We built this together, and it will always mean something to me. But people grow apart sometimes, and that's okay. I wish them only success moving forward." Fans, however, were less understanding. They flooded social media with frustration and anger, blaming both the cast exits and Mona's part in the breakdown. Many believed the producers had pushed the stars too far, using their personal lives to chase ratings without regard for their well-being. Hashtags like #VLH and #LHDDRAMA trended as viewers demanded answers. Yet as events unfolded, it became more obvious that the love and hip-hop empire was cracking, and no quick fix could stop it. As months passed, Mendeecees, Mendeecees, Kirk, and Jock stayed quiet, turning their attention to their lives, businesses, and families. Still, their fans stayed loyal, keeping conversations about their exit alive. Some hoped they'd make a comeback, while others believed they'd moved on for good. The mystery surrounding their departure only stirred more speculation. Was this truly the end for love and hip-hop, or would the stars one day return to reignite the flames? Fans waited, knowing whatever came next would be just as dramatic as what came before. The future of love and hip-hop hung in limbo, with no one certain of what would come next. But one thing was undeniable. The show, as fans once knew it, was gone forever. The fallout from Mendeecees, Mendeecees, Kirk, and Jock walking away was deeper than anyone imagined. Loyal viewers felt shattered, like a family had been ripped apart, and everyone involved was feeling the weight. What had once been a thriving reality TV powerhouse was now a mere shadow of its former self. Week by week, it became clearer that efforts to replace the stars were falling flat. New cast members were added, but the original magic, the chemistry, the intensity, the genuine emotion, was gone. Behind closed doors, the network's leaders were in a frenzy. They knew they had a serious problem. And it wasn't just about the loss of some of the franchise's biggest stars. The deeper problem was the broken dynamic that had taken shape. Love and hip-hop had always thrived on drama, but its true core came from the bonds among its cast, connections that had been challenged, broken, and rebuilt over time. With the exits of Mendeecees, Mendeecees, Kirk, and Jock, it wasn't just the lineup that had changed. The very roots of the show had been shaken. The network could introduce fresh personalities, but it couldn't replicate the history and substance the original cast brought. Viewers flooded social media with their reactions. The hashtag #GoWithoutThem trended as thousands voiced their frustration over the direction the show had taken. "They can't swap out the originals for strangers," one fan posted. "The drama wasn't just about the fights, it was about real people with real lives. Now it all feels fake." These thoughts echoed the disappointment of many who believed the heart of the show had been lost. Mendeecees, Mendeecees, Kirk, and Jock might have stepped away from the spotlight, but their presence still loomed large. As the ratings continued to drop, it became clear their departure had shaken love and hip-hop to its core. Some viewers still held out hope they'd return, while others felt they were gone for good. Then, in an unexpected twist, Mendeecees made headlines. During a podcast interview, he revealed that there had been serious talks about possibly coming back. "I'm not saying we're returning yet," he admitted, "but we've had conversations. There's a lot left unfinished, stories that haven't been told. Fans are asking for us, and we hear them." That statement sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Fans began to wonder what would happen if the original crew came back. Could the damage be repaired, or had things gone too far? Yandy, meanwhile, stayed silent on the matter. Since the fallout, she hadn't given any public interviews, focusing instead on her family and personal goals. Her quiet approach only fueled more speculation. Many believed Yandy had stepped away to reclaim peace and privacy after years of public conflict. Would she truly consider going back, knowing the toll it had taken on her? Kirk, in contrast, had been very direct. On social media, he made it clear he wasn't against returning, if the circumstances were right. "If we come back, it'll be on our terms," he posted. "What happened before wasn't okay, and I'm not jumping back into that chaos unless things are different. It's gotta be real, or it's not worth it." Fans respected Kirk's candor. After following his story for years, they appreciated his refusal to play the network's game anymore. He wasn't the villain he had once been portrayed as. He was taking back control. Jock shared a similar view. Though initially quiet, he made his stance known during a recent interview. "For me, it's not about money or being on TV," he explained. "It's about being respected. If the network's willing to treat us right, I'd consider returning. But I won't be part of something that doesn't value me." His honesty struck a chord. Viewers were tired of watching their favorite stars get used for drama. Jock's words reflected a growing desire for authenticity and fairness. Meanwhile, the network's efforts to fill the gap with fresh faces fell flat. The new additions lacked the chemistry and impact of the original crew. Fans quickly grew uninterested. Without Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock, the show began to lose its charm. Behind the scenes, Mona Scott-Young, who had once driven the show's success, was under increasing strain. The departure of key cast members had left her scrambling. In a rare interview, she opened up about the challenges. "This has been tough," she admitted. "Losing core members is hard, but we're trying to push forward. We're bringing in new talent and new stories. It's not easy, but we're dedicated to keeping love and hip-hop alive." Still, many fans weren't convinced. They voiced doubts online, questioning whether the series could survive without its original heart. "No Yandy, no Mendeecees, no Kirk, no Jock. It's just not the same," one person wrote. "They made the show what it was. Without them, it's just another reality show." As the weeks passed, pressure on the network intensified. Ratings kept dropping. Viewers were tuning out. The excitement that once surrounded love and hip-hop had faded, and its future looked more uncertain than ever. Could it bounce back, or was this truly the end of a defining era? One thing was certain. The original stars and their dramatic exits had changed everything. Whether they returned or not, their legacy would live on. In the months that followed, love and hip-hop was caught in a whirlwind. Despite Mona's promises that new faces and fresh drama would revive the show, reality proved otherwise. Once loyal fans now felt disconnected. Viewership continued to slide, and the online chatter that once powered the brand had all but disappeared. The spark that had made the series a pop culture juggernaut was gone. Without the powerful presence of Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock, the show had become just another struggling reality program. Network executives were running out of time and options, or they risked the complete collapse of the show. The message from the higher-ups was clear. Something drastic had to occur, or love and hip-hop would be reduced to a forgotten chapter in reality TV history. Desperate for a solution, the network started reaching out to the original cast members, hoping to bring them back with promises of new terms, improved contracts, and the chance to complete the unfinished stories. But each call was met with reluctance, and the network quickly realized that Mendy, Yandy, Kirk, and Jock were no longer interested in being manipulated by the network. Mendy, who had earlier shown interest in returning, changed his mind. In a private conversation with a close friend, he confessed that the drama surrounding his departure from love and hip-hop had deeply affected him and his family. "The show was overwhelming," he said. "There were things happening behind the scenes that no one knew about. I had to think about my kids, my wife, and what was best for us. I'm done with the drama." His words were heavy with emotion, and it was evident that Mendy's decision to leave wasn't taken lightly. Despite the lure of returning to a show that had made him famous, He understood that the cost of his mental and emotional well-being was too steep. Yandindi, too, had found peace with her choice to step away. In a heartfelt post on social media, she explained her decision to focus on her family and personal development. "The years I spent on love and hip-hop were unforgettable, but I've reached a point in my life where I need to prioritize myself and my family," Yandindi wrote. "It's been a beautiful journey, but my story doesn't need to be told on that platform anymore." Her words resonated with fans who had watched her navigate the highs and lows of reality TV. For Yandindi, it was time to turn the page to a new chapter, one not defined by the chaos of the show. Kirk's decision, however, was more complex. While he had voiced dissatisfaction with the show's direction, he also struggled with the thought of leaving behind the world he had helped create. Kirk had been a central figure on Love and Hip Hop from the start, and walking away from that legacy wasn't easy. But eventually, he reached the conclusion that it was time to move forward. "I've done it all," Kirk said in a rare interview. "I've had the drama, the fights, the makeups, the breakups. But at the end of the day, it's about what's real, and I just don't feel that anymore. I've got a family to care for, and that's where my focus is." His words were met with a mixture of support and disappointment from fans. Some understood his need to put family first, while others were heartbroken at the thought of never seeing Kirk on their screens again. Jock's exit, while less emotionally charged, was equally impactful. Jock had long been a fan favorite, known for his comedic timing, loyalty to his friends, and willingness to dive into any drama. But over time, Jock became increasingly weary of the constant turmoil that surrounded him. "I've had my time," Jock said in a candid conversation with a close friend. "I've seen it all and done it all, but I'm tired of being part of this cycle. I want to live my life on my own terms." Jock's decision was bittersweet for many fans who had followed his journey since the early days of Love and Hip Hop. The departure of these four iconic cast members sent shockwaves through the reality TV world. Fans were devastated, and the media frenzy that followed was nothing short of chaotic. The tabloids ran headline after headline, speculating on everything from salary disputes to personal conflicts. Some rumors even suggested that the cast members had been manipulated by the network into staying longer than they wanted. Others believed the pressure of maintaining their public images had taken a toll on their mental health. Regardless of the truth, one thing was clear: Love and Hip Hop would never be the same without them. As the months passed, the show's future grew more uncertain. The network's attempts to bring in new cast members were met with indifference. The storylines felt forced, the drama seemed manufactured, and viewers began to tune out in large numbers. Even the introduction of new locations and spin-offs couldn't prevent the franchise's inevitable decline. Fans continued to demand the return of the original cast, but the network remained steadfast, unwilling to admit they had made a mistake. Mona Scott Young, the mastermind behind the Love and Hip Hop empire, faced increasing criticism. She had built the show from scratch, and now she was watching it fall apart. Despite her best efforts to salvage the franchise, she couldn't shake the feeling that the show had lost its heart. "We tried to reinvent the show," Mona admitted in a rare interview. "But sometimes you just can't recreate what you had. The magic was in the original cast. They were the heart and soul of Love and Hip Hop, and without them, it will never be the same." The final blow came when the network announced that Love and Hip Hop would be going on an indefinite hiatus. The decision to pause production was met with a mix of sadness and relief. For fans, it marked the end of an era. For the cast members, it provided an opportunity to step away from the toxic environment that had defined their lives for so long. As the curtain fell on the once iconic reality series, one question hung in the air: was Love and Hip Hop truly finished? The answer, it seemed, was yes. But the legacy of the original cast, Mendy, Yandindi, Kirk, and Jock, would forever be etched in reality TV history. Their dramatic exits, their emotional journeys, and the chaos they left behind would be remembered for years to come. Love and Hip Hop may have ended, but the influence of its original stars was undeniable. They had created something unforgettable, and no matter how hard the network tried to replace them, nothing could ever replicate the energy, fire, and drama these four icons brought to the screen. Now that you've witnessed the shocking downfall of Love and Hip Hop and the explosive exits of Mendy, Yandindi, Kirk, and Jock, it's clear that the show will never be the same. What are your thoughts on their decision to leave? Do you think the show can survive without them? Or is this the end of an era? Let us know your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you were shocked by these developments and subscribe for more juicy updates on your favorite celebrities. Hit that bell to stay updated.